Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 68 of ATL Falcons UK. This week it's just me, Liam, and Cal. Mark's gone AWOL, but he has dropped us some takes to announce on his behalf, and of course, he's left the spicy ones for a show where we can't criticise him for them. So we will be running through our takes on the weekend game just gone, our lineup against the Commanders on Sunday, and everything else in between, covering Patterson's record-breaking run, Pitts' injury, and other bits like that. So let's start by going back to the Bears game. Liam, what were you thinking when you were watching on Sunday?
Yeah, I was pretty stressed throughout, to be honest, which is the usual feeling.
No change.
No change. I mean, I said that was like a weird experience, but it wasn't. It's every single Sunday. But I think, I took it as obviously we won, so that's positive, but I took sort of the overall content of the game as a positive. Obviously, there were some errors which we know about, but overall, I think there were some positive things on show, more positive than negative in this sense. I think, we rushed the ball pretty consistently. Again, I can't remember what the exact numbers were, but I think Patterson went over 50 yards and Algier went over 50 yards and ended up like 150-ish. I think, I don't know, Mariota ran forward again. That's our MO, isn't it, at the moment? We're very much a rushing team.
Yeah,
it's a bit weird because we've sort of for a long time when I've been sort of following him. Obviously, the quarterback like Ryan, we very much knew that we had a very much a passing mentality and a passing approach. So I'm not really used to this running rush first mentality, but I quite enjoying it. Gives us a little bit of something different to watch, and obviously when our quarterbacks also basically, just likes to basically rush at most opportunities. It's kind of like a very much something that we get to see on a regular basis, but it's keeping us. I think that's what's keeping the games tight, if I'm honest. I think a lot of our games are tight because we're very much a rushing team where we're not very explosive, are we, in terms of the passing game. We're very much move the ball downfield. Like we're not really going for the absolute worldly players because of the passing style. But I think overall we did very well against Fields. I think that was everybody's main concern, especially after his performances in recent weeks. We almost we shut him down, but we certainly restricted him compared to recent weeks. I think I can't remember what he ended up rushing for, but it was less than 100 yards, and I think obviously he's been going way over that in recent weeks. So I'm quite happy with that side of things. A lot of people expected him to just run all over us. So I'm pleased with that, and we know that. I think the reason sort of why we won almost was we forced him into some passes where he's kind of he's got obviously ability, but it's not his strength, is it? Similar style to Mariota, he's sort of making passes. He's probably not as good as the other side of his game. I don't know what you think, Cal, and what are your sort of highlights of the game where I think there's multiple.
Yeah, so I didn't catch the game. I've watched the long highlights on it. I think I got about 10 messages off Danny at one point, like in the last quarter. Obviously, another win on the board. Five wins now, which is obviously good. But I think one of the main things is stopping Fields. Was like you said, we didn't stop him completely, but that was one of the things where people was like, if we stop him and we have a chance, and then we did that. So it's obviously a massive part of the game, a good part going into it. Obviously, coming out of it with a few injuries, which we'll sort of touch on soon, which is obviously the sort of the negative part of the game, but just one of them. Another win on the board, as you say. When we was with Matt Ryan, it was basically just a passing team, and now we wanted a run game, and now we're basically just a running team.
We only have a run game.
But can't complain too much without winning. You do look back at like past sort of defeats and go, we could be like even in a better position because with Panthers game, even the Chargers game, you could probably say we should have won, but we move on and we're 5 and 6, and it's what most would have said at this point of the season.
Yeah. For me, just before I compliment the Falcons, I would just like to point out that it got reported after the game that Justin Fields dislocated his left shoulder during the game, and he carried on playing anyway. So in his defense, that's probably partially a reason why he wasn't quite up to scratch. But I think we did, like you said, reasonably well at limiting him. I think, again, there was a lot of individual errors on our part, which makes them look better than they are. A lot of fumbles and a lot of miscalculated passes, let's say, and things like that. But again, it's a win, and I didn't even have us on for 5 at the start of the season, I don't think. So I'm not really in a position to criticise us too much. I'm sure we'll move on to it now, but you've got players performing well above the level that you probably anticipated, and then you've got your star players like Patterson just doing unspeakable things week in, week out, which is beyond what we would have ever expected when we got him on the books. So I think we'll use that opportunity just to give him a couple of minutes of praise. Of course, he ran for 103 yards, was it? I think 103 yards was that, just as in the kick return, not overall.
Oh, yeah.
I think the kick return was 103 yards, his 9th of his career, which is an NFL record. And in the whole game, it was 206 yards. I don't know how we managed to acquire this man, but I'm very, very grateful that we managed to do it. I'm absolutely devastated because I didn't actually catch that live because I was still out and about at the time. So all I saw was tweets, and then Mark very politely said in the chat something along the lines of, "I'm erect," or "I'm wet," or something absolutely horrendous like that. That was my acknowledgement to what had happened. So I saw that and then went back and watched it, and I was like, "Oh my God, unbelievable stuff." Go on, Liam.
It fascinates me how it's because there's not many. Obviously, there's a lot of everyone's got a punt returner and a kick returner in the team, but there's not many that are actually that effective, where they're to the point where they're actually such a threat. Where there's a few obviously about, but I don't get what the sort of the skill to it is. There's obviously a unique skill to that, because obviously there's other guys who are fast and there's other guys who can make people miss tackles, but there's a reason. So certain players can really put it together and become elite kick returners, and obviously he's certainly in the game today, he's the best of the best, really, and he brings value to a team just with that side of his game alone. But then what we've got out of him as a running back on top of that was just far more than we ever could have imagined. We knew what we were getting in the kick return game. It doesn't surprise me that he can do things like this because he's been doing it all his career. But what he's done in the running game on top of it has just been made him basically this star for the team, where we thought basically he was a utility man, a bit of a bit player to fill a gap almost. I remember saying, I think at the start of the season, when we didn't know what roles he was going to play when he first started. It was he's there to obviously, he's older, he's there to fill a gap. He's not going to do a whole lot. He'll probably play a bit of receiver, do his kick returns and a bit of running back. And now he's his number one running back, and he's not only number one running back, he's up there in the league in terms of his performances. So
100%. I'm devastated that he's not in a team where he's surrounded by, I don't want to be rude to everyone else really, but surrounded by players of his caliber, because you just think if you had a prime Julio and people like that scattered around someone like that, they'd just be unbelievable options. Whereas despite his stats probably look a bit better than they would do because he's one of our limited options. I know we've got options, but just not of the caliber that he's at. So I'm not saying that helped. That's the only reason. He's clearly just an unbelievable player, but it's a shame that he's not getting the stardom around him that matches what he's playing at the moment in time.
Yeah, it's just fascinating that no one's done this before with him.
So strange. It's a masterstroke.
It's kind of funny, really, because we signed him to be like a kick return, and that was like his main thing. And it's like it's took like a season and a half to like get his first touchdown doing that, especially.
Yeah.
But I think he's just sort of changed the sort of the fan base in total, like how he's on Twitter. He's brought sort of the fan base a lot together because he's one of them star players. And even like interacting with the fans at every game, I think he's brought it all together, and it's a joy to watch. And the best thing what I seen last week was when the German fans went over to the Panthers game, and obviously they ended up getting a signed jersey from him, which is absolutely class.
Yeah. I mean, even today, he's put some new merch on his website, and the first 5 people that bought it got a signed pair of gloves off him with their order. I was like, oh my God, I didn't get on quick enough. I'd probably seen it 15 minutes after, and I was like, no. Well worth the purchase.
I think he just loves he obviously loves the fan base and the team because, like I said, no one's given him the opportunity before to play a key role in a team. They've always obviously had him as the kick returner and a few other bits and pieces, but no one said, you know what, I think you've got the ability to be a lead back or even just a secondary back. He's never had it, and he's got given an opportunity, and now what he's doing. So obviously he's now seeing this as basically the first people to ever give him a real chance at a role, a big role in a team, and he's obviously just absolutely loving it when the fan base obviously all behind him, the team's behind him, and he's performing out of his skin, and it's just he's over the last season and a half, it's the biggest hearing. Obviously, I think with the way that Arthur Smith sort of stepping into the role, I think they're the 2 biggest positives we've seen. And I certainly didn't expect Patterson to be one of those positives. So I'm absolutely saying, like Carl said, he is a joy to watch play the game. He's just such such an angry runner. He's just a big man. He just loves seeing that sort of drive and determination to get those extra 2-3 yards every single time he runs the ball.
Yeah,
like he never seems to just like take a couple of half-ass runs. Every single time he just runs hard every single time. And obviously it's good because you've got guys in rotation that help, but just brilliant. Was it against the Panthers? Was it? I can't remember who it was against now. Which was it? Chargers, when he absolutely just trucked that guy across the line. Was just
literally.
That guy honestly had been down for God knows how long if I got hit by that man like that.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I think as well as him, there was a handful of other players that would probably deserve a little bit of a shout out. I mean, Falcons seem to have been doing articles on everyone this week that's performing out of the skin or has had like a hard journey to where they are and stuff like that. But although we criticise the D a fair amount so far this season, 4 sacks and tackles for 25 yards lost, I think it was, which I'm almost certain is about a third on top of our sacks that we had for the entire season so far or something like that. I'm just double checking how many we actually had prior to that now, but I think there was some good performances at the back as well. I know over recent weeks we've had some comments criticising DMPs and the players' performances individually, but I mean, we limited a reasonably good team with a very good quarterback, injured or not, so I can't knock them too much this week. I know there's work to be done, but it's progress.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with. As a unit, I think we have struggled defensively, but individual players have played their part. Maybe not every game, but everyone's sort of done some good stuff across the season to names that we just didn't really expect to do very well.
Yeah.
Well, I said names because they're not really names. Like nobody really knows who half of them are sometimes. So
yeah, exactly.
When we've been able to bring in some guys and they've done some good stuff. I think even to Isaiah Overs, certainly I know I've criticised him a lot in the past, and he's come in and he's stepped up into his role. He's doing a solid job. People like the Alford who steps into roles and done well. Jalen Hawkins again. He was pretty solid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Carlton was good. The Abdullah Anderson was incredibly impressive. I think he did very well. He's a name we don't really hear very often in terms of positive players. And if he did like a sack and then another quarterback pressure like back-to-back plays, I was like, this guy's on it.
It's all over it. But I think that's sort of thing. A lot of these players are playing for their careers and not necessarily for the Falcons, just because the names that, without being disrespectful, they're not like household names, like you just said then. They're not all very well known. They've not all had largely successful careers to date. So the fact that they're all playing out of the skin and beyond what we expected is more than we could have asked for. Even with the errors here and there, you would have expected that because that's what we signed up for. That's what happens when you've got a roster that's built on about, did I say 98 million earlier? I think the statistic was for the actual active roster. One second, let me get that. Let me make sure I quote that right because it's a stunning
stat. It's 98 million in cap space allocated to the active roster. Lowest in the NFL. They have 21 million on reserve, 80 million dead money. That's ridiculous. And we have 5 wins, and so you've got players coming in on obviously some cheap contracts on that, and they're going to be like, they're playing on 1-year contracts, and they know that we've got a lot of money next year, and they want to be part of Atlanta next year. So the odd few players, obviously, you're only going to spend your money on so much, and you can only spend it on so much. But these players are playing, like you said, they're playing for them and they're playing for the team, and that's what we need.
100%. I'm just looking, and I know we've just moved to defense, but Chris Lindstrom again is the highest graded offensive player of the week, 95.5 rating over everyone else, over Trent Williams, over Travis Kelce, over Demarcus Robinson, Joe Burrow, everyone. There's just players that are just having outrageously good performances. And even though maybe it's not every single week, it's been a substantial part of the last 11 weeks that we've played in. So
it is it's the offensive line. It's just so good to have. I always like some offensive linemen have great days and then they have off days and great days and off days. That's not good for an offensive lineman. Obviously, what you want is somebody who's consistent. Like, don't have to be amazing every single week, but they have to be consistently good. And that's what like players like Lindstrom just are now. Like, it's just expected now, isn't it? Where we think, he's just reliable. And that's exactly what you want from an O-line. He's just somebody who you can send out there and he's reliably going to do a very solid job at worst. So having that,
especially this week with the left guard coming in as well, that Chuma Edoga, he's came in first start and is he cemented his place already after only 1 week? But he's a player that you'll obviously start again next week as well. And if he gets like in form, you never know.
Yeah, just want to see, we want to. You've got guys coming in, and if they take the chance, they deserve another chance. Like, we got if they play well, then why not? We always say that they don't have to be sort of a big name or somebody who's just been signed or returning from injury or whatever. If there's somebody just there and he happens to start playing well and get some momentum going, then keep him in the team. Like, keep the consistent O-line where we can. And obviously, injuries will take people out of that. But if we avoid the injuries and we just stick with what's working, I don't really care who's on the offensive line.
Oh no, it doesn't matter.
Unit together.
I think everyone knows if you have an offensive line it stays as the 5 most if you can without obviously injuries. They'll build a partnership together and then it just gets better and better. Everyone knows like all these teams that have got on to win the Super Bowl do well is having 5 players straight in form. And even if they do mess up a bit, which you're gonna, but at least it's the consistency.
Yeah, whereas we've not had that for we've not had stability for a long time now.
Yeah.
And definitely not in a position where even if we have had stability, there's always been a player or two that's just not been up to scratch, whereas everyone's performing for the careers. Something that we should probably touch on as a negative outcome, well, there's a couple of injuries. Kyle Pitts seems like he's going to be out for a stretch. It sounds like he's going to have surgery. What's the replacement? What are we thinking? What's the game plan change? I will add Mark's take into here because he's got a little comment. But are we thinking a direct replacement? Are we thinking change of gameplay and game plan, or?
I mean, I don't think we've got a direct replacement in terms of.
Yeah, I don't think anyone has.
Yeah, we've got obviously other tight ends who can do things in the pass game, but not obviously in the style that Pitts is going to do it. Which does change our approach a little bit. Does it make it I think if we'd have said, if this was last season, and where Pitts was playing last season, and this would be a massive. Everyone would be going wild about it, wouldn't they? In terms of we've lost our basically main option and all this sort of stuff. And I think he's going to sort of the impact of that injury is actually not really kicked up a fuss because he's not really, obviously he's not been doing terribly, I wouldn't say, but he hasn't really set anything alight this season. And I'm not going to say that's because of him or just because of Mariota. It could be probably a combination of the two somewhere. But I think we're not always in somebody who's on fire at least and setting the team alight. We've got other options that maybe able to step in and just sort of do a solid job for us. I think I'm not sure, is Ferguson currently healthy or is he injured? I can't remember. I think he got injured at one point, but I can't remember. I think as far as I know, he's back to being healthy. So
yeah, I think
I imagine he will step in and play a role. I know Parker FC's popped up a few times this season. I can't imagine him being a lead tight end, but he's had a few. He might get a little bit more involved. I just love
he plays there and there.
Every time he gets his name, like Parker. Never heard of him until he started having a few catches.
Yeah.
So that's what I think we're going to do. But we're going to have to lean on others now, aren't we? Like Drake London, etc. Are going to have to step up even more. The good thing is, I think I can't remember what the exact stat was, but we the first half or something Mariota thrown to 8 different receivers in just the first half. So that shows that at least we've got the options to spread the ball to. We're not we would just focus looking for Pitts every single time and throwing to Pitts. We've not been doing that all season. So we will probably see a little bit maybe drop off in production, but at least we have got other players chipping in already, and I'm sure we'll carry on doing that.
Well, Mark, I don't want to misquote him, so don't. Sorry, Cal, go on. You go first, and then I'll go with Mark. I think we're lagging.
No, I was just going to say I don't think. Yeah, I'm a couple of seconds behind, which don't help. With him being on IR, which is minimum 4 games in it, so I don't think he's going to come back at all. Depending what our last 2 or 3 games, if we still have a chance of the playoffs, he might. Obviously, he will. I think if he's fit, he will take part. But if it's one of them where the season is sort of dead and buried by that time, I don't think I can see him risking it because there's literally no point.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So Mark's take on the Pitts scenario and the game coming up against the Commanders is that with Pitts being out, he envisages Patterson heading back into the wide receiver role a little bit more, into the wide receiver slot a little bit more, and then the scoreline being similar to that of the game against the Bears that we've just had. And he really, really wants to emphasize this because he's put a little fire emoji next to it. But he said, we will see more passing as there will be less pressure to throw the ball to the tight end position. He thinks we score 3 passing touchdowns as the tight ends active on the roster suit the block more. But he wants to emphasize that this is not because Mariota suddenly becomes good, but because the O-line potentially get more help because of that extra tight end slot. Which, as much as I'd like to say it's a hot take, it's actually a pretty logical, pretty rounded take. So,
yeah, I think Pitts obviously is a tight end, but he gets utilised more as a receiver like we often do see downfield and stuff. While the guys who are going to step in for Pitts are not going to do that because they're not as athletic and as quick as he is. So we're going to have probably a little bit more of a check down option for the tight end now, where we're much shorter routes, which you'd think is going to benefit Mariota in some way, because he prefers to play those quicker, shorter passes to anybody rather than anybody downfield. So that gives him another option in the short game. And there's so many quarterbacks in the league where their favourite option is the short one to the tight end, because it's usually the easiest pass to make, other than sort of the one to the running back. So I think that, that, like Mark said, I think that could open up the passing game a little bit more for Mariota. Not the deep passing game, but the passing game in general could start to. Because I've said so many times this season, I don't want to be too negative on him because he did a solid job, Mariota, this time. But I think there's so many times where he just doesn't get his head up. He will scramble, but he's. We call him a scrambling style quarterback. But I don't really see him as much of a scrambler. He's more of a runner. So he gets out of the pocket and then he runs.
Yeah.
He doesn't get out of the pocket, and then we've seen what many quarterbacks do to get out of the pocket, but they don't just run for 5-6 yards. They wiggle around until with their head with their eyes downfield.
Yeah.
Wait for the player to break down until the receiver just improvises and gets open. Mariota, he's not great at waiting. And again, obviously he's got like Wyman chasing him, and it's not an easy thing to do. But he's very athletic, so he's got the ability to do it. But he just seems to, his head goes down, his eyes are then not on field. He's very much focused on running 5, 6, 7, 10 yards, which works a lot of the time. But that's in how many times he's missed sort of certainly when players like Zacchaeus who are great at getting in little pockets of space.
Yeah.
He could have made a 30-yard, if he could extend that play 2-3 more seconds, you've got a 30-40 yard bomb on where he's missing it and running for 7 yards. Like, that's just what's happening so often. And you just think, like, I just love to see him use his athleticism differently, where maybe moving left to right a little bit more and avoiding the Wyman and not just running away from them. And I know it's risky, so it is risky, but you've got the athleticism and speed to do it. So just keep your head downfield, and then if there's no options, then try and make your run. And he might only get 2 or 3 yards where he might be getting 7 now. But if you make a big 1 or 2 30-40 yard passes over that game, they're the plays that can win you games. Like, so I'd also see a little bit more of that from him. Like, even started showing, I've been noticing it all season, but he started actually showing clips of it on during the game on Sunday, where, like, in particular Zacchaeus was he got like 10, not even like, he's not even getting 2 yards of space, he was like 10 yards of space because he lost his defender after the ball after the play brought down. And you think, how's he not seen that? And then when you watch what Mariota was doing during that play, his head was down, he's running to the sideline, so that's why he didn't see it. I just want him to do it. Eyes up, get your eyes up.
I imagine his brain probably feels like it functions like how mine would react in that situation. If I just glance up and see like 3 or 4 people reasonably close to me, my head's going down and I'm just hoping for the best.
I do, I do exactly the same. But
I'm not saying I've got the ability he has, but I've probably got the same reflexes that he has to the scenario. I think he's just very reactive to situations instead of being that little bit more proactive and thinking, right, this is where I'm going to play and make the defense work around what he's doing. Whereas he sees them coming at him and he just tries to improvise in those seconds. And I know that is the role of a quarterback, but it's just not really effective with what we want. But saying that, as many as he gives away and as many interceptions as he throws and everything, he does pick one out of the bag every now and again that he's just got no right to get. And I can't explain why. And I can't explain the logic behind how he can just pull them out every now and again. But he's a 5-win quarterback at the moment in time, and it doesn't look like we're stopping anytime soon. There's still a few more in the bag before the season closes.
Yeah, what I would say is he's because one of my main concerns when we signed him, and he has shown some of this during the season, but he, although he's putting his head down sometimes, he's running for 5 yards or whatever. That is better than his old style self, where he would panic and throw an absolute wild one, like we've seen him do a couple of times this season. But he used to do it way more often than he's doing it now. He would run, and rather than just running to the sideline and taking 5 yards, he'd look for a pass that just was not on and just lob it and hope for the best.
Yeah.
And I think he's cut that out quite a lot now. Maybe he's missing open guys, but I'd much rather see him take 5 yards to throw in a wild one downfield that could get intercepted, or even if it doesn't, just why take the risk to take your 5 yards and keep going? I think that's what we've done. We've had longer drives now because we're not doing anything silly, other than whatever that thing was the other week where he was rolling around on the ground trying to throw it. I've not seen him.
I don't know. I don't want to talk about that. That was like he was playing Madden and his controller lagged or something. And just
be an iconic photo for years to come.
Oh, it's going to be stunning. It's there forever now.
that genuinely would be me. I'm like, oh, that's me on Madden now. Just like, oh yeah, that guy. That's not triple coverage. I can get that in there.
Oh, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. Just whilst we're live, just for the sake of it, the 2022 Art Rooney Sportsmanship Award has the nominations have gone out, and for the Falcons, it is Grady Jarrett, which is probably fair because Grady is Grady and he does what he does on and off the field, so I'll give him that one.
Yeah.
But on that note, we will look ahead to the Commanders game for the next handful of minutes and see what all of our thoughts are. So just before we get going properly, the Commanders are sitting at 6-5. They've won 4 out of the last 5, I think. They had one loss against the Vikings in the middle. It was 2017 at the start of November. Since then, they've beat the Texans, they've beat the Eagles. Prior to that, they beat the Colts by a point and they beat the Packers by 2 points. So what are we thinking as an overview first, Liam? What's your perception of the game?
I think certainly my perception of that game has changed since I think quite a few weeks ago now we spoke about like the schedule moving forward, didn't we? And we had, I think we didn't really see the Commanders as a threat because of the way they were playing at that time. We thought that's a game we targeted that as a winnable game, and it still is a winnable game. But it's tougher than it was back then. Should we say? With the way they're sort of currently playing and the form that they're on. I think they're a team that relies on the defense still.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say they're an offense like they're an offense that's doing well, but I wouldn't say they're an offense that is sort of setting it alight as such. I think they're very much a team that's not allowing very many points and not really allowing very many yards. That's their MO is that defense at the moment, which is solid for them. I think Heineke's obviously done a very good job since he's come in. They've got, with sort of a very good receiving call. Obviously, got the young rookies coming in, and then they've got obviously Terry McLaurin's, one of my favourite receivers in the league. I think he's very good. He's obviously somebody that we're really going to have to try and shut down because he can genuinely, he's the type of guy that can genuinely just take over a game, like 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like that's well up in his repertoire for doing that against a questionable secondary like ours. So we have to shut that down. I think what we have to do with Heineke, and this is give me a bit of confidence that we can do so from the last game, is get after him. We have to pressure him. He's doing a very good job, but he's a quarterback that struggles under severe pressure. He's a little bit like Mariota, where he will throw some wild ones if he feels the pressure. And that's what we have to. That's the key to victory for us, is forcing him to make a mistake. He's got mistakes in him. If we can get the mistakes out of him and onto the field, that'll be great for us. If we don't do that, I think we could struggle to score enough points to beat them. But I'm going to say we. I'm going to say we run the ball similar to how we ran it against the Bears. I don't think we'll set it away in the run game. I think we'll have a solid run game, but then we're going to have to do something in the pass game, and that's where the question marks there will come in for me.
That's where it's lucky dip. Toss of a coin, I'm afraid.
Can we do it? I don't know.
Just one strange stat before I let Cal have a chat. The Commanders dropped passes in Carson Wentz's 6 games is 13. And then in the 5 games Heineke's played, they've dropped none. And I'm not saying, it's just very peculiar. I don't know if he throws the ball better, if the spiral of the ball's better when he throws it, or if people just don't like Wentz, so they're dropping his ball.
This sounds like
so Heineke gets
don't like Wentz. That won't. Carson Wentz was probably absolute dimes in this. That one went from my hands again. What a shame.
Oh no, what a shame. No idea. But yeah, I just thought that was a really peculiar stat.
It's really interesting, actually.
That's a strange one.
I wouldn't want to be Wentz looking at that kind of stat.
Oh no, absolutely not. I'd have an issue with every single person in the roster. Got super glue on the gloves when Heineke plays, and when he plays, they've got olive oil on him. I don't know what's going on. What are you thinking, Cal?
I think it'd be a close game, like Liam said. It'd be another sort of a shootout kind of close game. Obviously their defense is the main thing. I think Chase Young is back, maybe.
Back on the roster, back on the active roster, yeah. So
we don't.
I can see him. You definitely don't want to see him, but I think he's one of them where he won't start the game. Depending how they're doing, they might not even need him because they are pretty strong anyway, I'd say. Obviously, the run game against him is going to be the main thing for me. Our passing game, that's not going to change much. But I think he's sort of stopping their run as well, I think. You say, like Heineke is obviously going to be the quarterback again. He's a bit of a loose cannon at times, but if he plays like he did in the last couple of games, you never know what can happen. But if we stop sort of their run game as well, it should be all right. But I feel like we always need an interception in every game. Like I think that's how we sort of play, and are we on a record for nine interceptions maybe? I think I read that. I think it's in the top.
I wouldn't be shocked. Yeah, that's probably right.
Yeah,
and it is. Everyone has been sort of game changing at the time. And obviously it's a good thing for us, but it's definitely going to be a close game. They don't concede that many either. Like last couple of weeks, I think they've averaged below 20, which is very, very good. But we know we can score. We can score against most teams, even the better teams we've played. We've always scored against them, apart from the other couple of games. So it's just going to be one of them stressful Sundays, like every Sunday, apart from bye week. But it's going to be a last quarter sort of whoever takes it in the last quarter for me.
Yeah, it's going to be. It's definitely going to be a tough game. But their defensive line without Chase Young is terrifying. Like it's literally terrifying. With Montez Sweat, who's just a great player. I think I heard the FA Avada, the English lad, who's good for them, and Jonathan Owen and Deron Payne, defensive tackles, like the two elite defensive tackles, both on the same team. It's a terrifying prospect, Mariota, but we're not going to get hit by either of those guys. God,
I think it's one of them where if our O-line does sort of the all turn up and like what they have been doing, like Lynch has been obviously, like we mentioned him earlier, being utter class most of the year, by far one of the best players we've got at the moment. If they stay steady, you never know what can happen. It does help with Mariota being a bit of a sort of scramble, like everyone knows, but it's going to be fine margins all the way through.
As a team as well, they're just in such a peculiar position. They're at 6-5. The only team in the NFC East on 11 games, everyone else is on 10. But the bottom of the NFC East on 6-5, because the Eagles are sitting at 9-1 and Cowboys and Giants are both sitting at 7-3. So the frustration in the camp must be disgraceful, because in about half of the other divisions, I think in 3 it puts them top, in 2 it puts them second, and then in the others, I couldn't quote it. That must be frustrating, thinking we're playing well, we're performing, and it's still just not good enough because of how strong that division is. Very strange for them.
Do you think it's one of them divisions where you could have 4 teams? Like, it depends on the NFC West.
Well, they've got a better record than every single team in the NFC West. They've got a better record than every team in the NFC South. They've got a better record than 3 of the 4 teams in the NFC North. And then if you go over to the other side, they'd be second in every single table. So I don't know. It's just very, very strange how it's fallen this year.
I do think this is a game where, for us, I think Smith will look at it and be like, if there's any chance of a postseason game, this is where you've got to be winning, because they're already on 6 wins, and if they got there, it'd be then too high than us, and then there's a gap straight away. And I don't think you'd say it's between, if they keep winning, it might be between them and like the Seahawks for like the last position. So it's one of them games where I think if you do lose, I think that is, they're not going to look at it like that because they don't, but as fans, you'd be like, that's sort of it.
Yeah. We were speaking about this off camera as well, Carl. I think in the position that the tables are and the divisions are looking at the moment in time, if we don't top the division, there's 0% chance of a wild card. It's nearly done already. Mathematically, it's already nearly done. So it's literally, like you said, Ben, it's one way you want to make a bit of a point, because in theory, they've not really got much to play for at the moment in time. They need everybody else to slip up as well as them to keep winning. So you've just got to hope that we can get in the heads a little bit and play out of our skins again.
It's going to be it's a fairly, obviously there's a few different positions that are stronger, but I think we've got, they've got a 1-2 punch winning game now, and we've got, 1-2-3 punch potentially winning game. So I think it is going to be quite a run heavy game. I think that's going to be the key, is can we run it against that defensive line? It's going to be tough. If we manage it, then I think we can win. I think we've got enough weapons to hurt them. We've got an okay secondary, but the defensive line is certainly their strength. Obviously, we've got 2 solid running backs. I mean, Brian Robinson's come back now, and which I just find absolutely fascinating that a guy can play who got shot in pre-season.
Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane.
And not only did he get started, not only is he playing, he's playing very well.
Yeah. He needs to be studied for science, because that's not normal. But
crazy. But I think that's going to be the key, is whose run game comes out on top. For me, I'm going to say whoever has that key production in the run game wins the game. That's going to be sort of my take on the way it's going to go. Is that it's run game versus run game. There'll be a lot of run attempts for both teams, and if we can't make the yards on that defensive line, then I think we'll struggle. But likewise, if we can make the yards and we can sort of limit their running backs, can Heineke take over a game and whoop us on his own? Probably not. So I hope not.
I was going to say I'd hope not. But
you've just ruined that, Liam. Now when he scores 40 points
he's got to go off now, isn't he? Career day.
I think he's only scored 5 touchdowns, or through 5 touchdowns. He'll be scoring another 5 this game.
One game. Oh my gosh, I should have said that.
But what scorelines we all thinking then? I know have you got a specific in mind, and we'll take note again, like we do every week, and we'll get marks.
Me 20. Oh god. Yeah, 27-21
to them.
Falcons.
Okay. Cal?
Yeah, I think even though they're in, obviously, was it 4 wins out of 5, so they are in good form. They ended up beat the Eagles as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
So, but with that, like, they don't concede. The last few weeks have not conceded much over 20. But I feel like without Pitts, I think it's going to be the offense is going to be slightly different this week, even though he's not set the world alight, like sort of no fault of his own kind of. I do think we will score over 20 against them. So I'm going to go 24-21.
Us?
Oh, yeah, it's got to be us. Got to be.
Okay. Hey, I feel all over the show now because I've not backed against us all season, and I'm saying 31-27 to them. I think we do have enough to be competitive, but this feels like a very Falcons game to lose, where if we win, it really does give us that like confidence in the division and we'd start to make a bit of headway again, which is exactly when we tend to crumble. So as much as I want to say we can be competitive in the game, I've just got a feeling they might nick it. Obviously, I hope that they don't.
It is unusual because we have we have these, and then we have the Steelers next week, and they're both. Then it's our bye week in it after that. So you do end up winning 2, and you're on 7-6, and obviously the season's open. But I do think this Sunday is like it was a bit like the other day. I think if the Bears beat us, the season sort of is completely over. We've done it. We don't have expectations, which is fine. It's still going to be exciting. I still want us to win all games. I don't want us fucking tanking like any weird fans say.
The tank's nearly gone now. Anyway, this team's on 1-8.
I know, yeah. But either way, it's still. I say it every week, every time we win. I say it. I don't really say it when we lose. I'm more abusing most people. But
no, we never know.
It is. It is fun. It's fun compared to the last few years of watching it. And it is. And apart from I'd say the Panthers game where I thought there was literally no fight in the team at all. This, apart from that, I made 1 or 2 others. Most games there's fight in the team, and in most games you go into the last quarter either winning or having a chance of winning.
Yeah. I think reluctantly, I do think we lose this weekend. I think we beat the Steelers. I'm not sweating about that one for a change. I think they're sitting at 3-7, if I remember correctly. So not solely basing it off the record, but just not the team that they've been previously. I think we've got the facilities to beat them. That'll take us into the bye at 6-7.
Yeah, it depends obviously how the Bucks do. I don't know. They got a bye week or just had a bye week, haven't they?
Just had one last week.
Yeah, one. So, but I think these 2 weeks, I think if we do win on Sunday and then you beat the Steelers, it's wide open again, isn't it? This is how bad
it is. Yeah,
it's not awful. It's not a strong division, we know that. But you finish
the
top.
Bucks have the Browns, the Saints, and then the 49ers back to back. So Browns should be interesting. I don't know what I want to happen that I'm against the Saints. I have no idea. It depends how this weekend's games go, really, based on who we want to win. And then the 49ers is
a tie.
Tie. And then the 49ers will be reasonably interesting again as well because they're 6-4, I think. So they're performing reasonably well. So they've got 3 close games by all accounts. But I suppose we can only focus on ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, I think the 49ers will beat them, so I'm confident with that one.
Yeah.
I think we've got left. We've got the Commanders, Steelers, Saints, Ravens. Who's the other team we're playing apart from the Bucks?
Cardinals. Or the Bucks.
Oh, we'll beat the Cardinals.
Even them, they're trash, to be fair, at the moment.
Yeah, I think we'll beat them.
I think the Ravens is I'd go into the Ravens with a guaranteed loss, to be fair.
Just taking it before we've done it.
Take it.
Yeah, the Ravens.
Well, it'd be good. The Ravens would be good because we get to see our future quarterback, don't we? So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think realistically, for me now, basing off our performances and the games that we've got left, I think we lose against the Commanders. I think we beat the Steelers. I think we beat the Saints. I think we lose against the Ravens. We beat the Cardinals, and I'm not going to say anything about that last game against the Bucks. because it's just too daunting.
Imagine, right,
it's fully dependent on how the games sit.
Here's the scenario, Danny. Going into the last game, whoever wins goes top. Imagine.
I know exactly what happens in that scenario. We lose. we lose. There's no. The Falcons do not give us that much joy. So what would my thing leave us at then? So we lose this weekend. We win then. So that leaves us 7. Lose against the Ravens, beat them, puts us in 8. So I'd have us on 8 wins. Oh, I'd have us on 8-8 with the Bucks to play last.
Oh God.
Even if you lose that, if we finish 8 and 9 with rosters in the NFL, I don't think anyone can complain about the season. You can complain about certain aspects of it, but
we'll have overachieved. We can't be disappointed.
Something to build on next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that for me would say, like, that would make me a lot more confident in the coaching that we've got.
100%.
We got 8 out of 8 and 9 with that roster. That says that we've got coaches who can get something out of average players. So what can they do with very good players? Would be
if they can coach at anywhere near an 8 and 9, even a 7 and 10, 8 and 9, 9 and 8, anywhere around that with the roster that we've got, that they've overachieved from everybody's expectations. So I think we have a lot to look forward to. But unfortunately, I don't think this Sunday is something to look forward to.
Wait, Jonathan, I've actually, if you're going to think about the 2 games you just mentioned, I'm almost going to be going for the reverse after we beat the Commanders and lose to the Steelers. That shows how wild this season is. Nobody has a clue. Right?
But yeah, I think it'll be competitive. I think it'll be a good watch. Change of gameplay and game plan due to Pitts being out, Patterson probably used in a slightly different area, blocking tight end like Mark told us to point out. So I think that's why we'll stay competitive, because Mariota might stay on his feet a little bit more. He'll have a bit more time to scramble, or whatever we want to call his style of play.
Yeah, TJ Watt chasing him.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Unless anyone's got any extra points that we've not covered, I'm more than happy to wrap off by saying the Falcons are going to the Super Bowl.
Guaranteed. Absolutely guaranteed.
We are good.
No, I think that's all.
I'm just glad that we're still sort of talking about things like this, about, you know, we're still talking about games being competitive and seasons being competitive at this point. I think if we'd have said that at the halfway through the season, we'd have thought this had been basically what have we got to play for. We'd probably been talking about next season already and plans and things.
Yeah.
But the fact we're still talking about this season is great.
It is. We're still in the hunt, and this could be, I can't speak for you, obviously you've supported them for longer. This could be the furthest me and Cal have got to still being in contention for the playoffs, I think. Hate-wise, I think it's probably very close.
I don't know how you cope.
Yeah, it's usually done by September. You know?
Yeah, usually about the 9th.
I mean, I was followed him in those bad sort of those seasons, but I just basically have the fact that I've had some good seasons to watch, so I sort of live off that. But you've not even started that. I don't know how you do it.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
We're still selling our souls for a taste of a winning record at the end of the season. We're so close, so just need to keep on top of it.
Just something I've just seen.
Yeah,
an interesting point that's come up there. The Panthers have announced that Sam Darnold's going to start on Sunday for them. No, he's back.
That's interesting. So, that is interesting.
That's Baker done and dusted. They've given up on him again.
Which is even more shambolic by our standards, though, that we were not able to put one over them again. So
yeah.
But I don't want to jinx it, but they're at 3-8. they shouldn't be involved in the equation really now, regardless of quarterback change and things like that. We should be able to keep the pace away from them. The Saints can get to fuck, and we'll keep pace away from them, and then it's just us and the Bucs scrapping it out until that final game of the season.
Yeah,
I think
it's just frustrating. Yeah, so we don't beat those teams, isn't it? But I mean, it's interesting for the division. That I don't know whether that's I think the Panthers could lose pretty much every game from here on. I don't think Sam Darnold's going to come and set it alight, is he?
Their rebuild's not going how it was originally planned 2 years ago. Really,
on the roster, and none of them productive. One goes to go injured for the rest of the whole season, and Pidgeot came in and did very little. And I just like the Steve Smith, the former Panthers wide receiver, I think this week called Baker Mayfield a three-legged donkey. I think he called it.
Oh my God!
That's not good when one of your team's legends is calling your current quarterback three-legged donkey.
That is not the publicity that you want around your name, is it? Really, but we move on the three-legged donkey note. Go on, Cal.
No, that Darrell Henderson has just been waived from the.
Oh, from the Rams.
Just seen, which I didn't expect.
That's interesting.
Oh, because I don't know if
didn't expect. I just seen it on Facebook scrolling through then.
That's interesting.
We always catch the news just as we're about to block off.
He'll be snapped up in no time by somebody. Decent player.
Definitely.
Week 12. Stunning. Right. On that note, we will wrap up the show for this week. So we've got Liam and Cal going for wins against the Commanders, and me going for the first predicted loss of the season. I'm a changed man. I've become a realist for this weekend. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching live. Thank you for all of your comments throughout. This will be going over to podcast just after the show's finished. So if you're listening, we've tried to be less visual this time, whereas last week I was pointing at things and getting pictures up and stuff like that, and nobody could consider that we were back on podcast. So we're trying to learn. But thank you all. If you're bored and you're a Falcon, we do have a Discord now that's pop in. It goes off on game days, and everybody has a chat about their opinions and everything. It's all fun and games. So I'll put a link for that up at the end. And unless we catch you sooner, we will be back next week, hopefully with a win after the Commanders game. But I won't hold my breath. So see you all later. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.